This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
Welcome to the G-Spot Podcast. I'm your guide, Katie Silcox, bringing you your weekly self-love soundbite. Join us for conversations around sex, spirit, and all things self-care. All things self-care. All things self-care.
This is a journey into sound.
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro.
You are a G-Spot Podcast with Katie Silcox.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the G-Spot. We are here in the beautiful, damp, cold Virginia winter. I feel like the first minute of the podcast is just about me bitching about the weather. And that very well may be true. Oh my God. Anyone else out there ready for spring? Ready for some warmth on the skin? Ready for some outdoor living? I am so ready. Today's podcast is going to be a sweet one. I am going to talk to you about two really important concepts in the field of Ayurvedic theory. And that may sound very boring. And when I say the Sanskrit, it may sound even more boring. Today, we're going to talk about the exciting world of your Prakriti and your Vikruti. And you may notice from the title, I call that your original true self and what happened was. And that's just a fun way or an easier way of understanding these concepts. Your original nature is your Prakriti. And then there's everything that happened to you, right? From the time that you were born until now. And that's called your Vikruti. If we go deeper into the Sanskrit, it's even more exciting and fun and beautiful. And we can really see the mind of the yogi. The word kruti means nature. Kriti or kruti means nature. And pra is this beautiful Sanskrit root that means original, first. And to be joined to is another meaning of that word. And so when you put those together, what it means is joined to nature, joined to your nature, linked with your original self. In psychology, we call it the true self. And then you have Vikruti, so nature, and V means to be separate from, the way that we've separated ourselves from our true self. And in Ayurvedic medical theory, what that refers to is your constitution when you were born, and then all the little micro imbalances or macro imbalances that have built up over time to form disharmony and even disease manifestation in the body. And so that would be your Prakriti and your Vikruti from a more physiological or medical standpoint. We divide those things up, but really they all go together. According to Ayurveda, the root of all disease begins in the realm of the subtle, begins at root in the realm of the mind. And the mind isn't just thoughts. The mind is also the realm of the subconscious, even the autonomic nervous system. It's that which we are not aware of in terms of our subtle reactions to life and the way in which we've developed coping mechanisms that have been adaptive for us at the time that things happen, but may become maladaptive as we get older and mature and have a different life than the one we were born with. So I want you to think about your original nature as one of my dear colleagues calls your original blueprint. Kimberly Johnson calls your original blueprint. And your original blueprint is your Prakriti. And this is beautiful. It's your innate health. It's prana. It's energy flowing unimpeded in your system. From a Christian perspective, it's Jesus saying in order to begin to enter into the kingdom of heaven, one must become like a child. This is our original self that we are. And then we have everything that occurred to us in our life. What had happened was the other part of the story. And from a nervous system perspective, what this looks like is all of our nervous system tendencies that get overlaid onto the original blueprint. And that overlay in yoga, tantra, Ayurveda theory are called your samskaras. Samskaras are grooves. Samskaras are impressions. They are habituations. They are patterns that become ingrained in our system, and our system tunes to those patterns and will have the tendency to go back to those patterns unless a new pattern or a healthier pattern is uncovered. And think of it as like an overlay. So underneath all your shit, underneath all your mental musings, underneath all your bad relationship habits, underneath all your anxiety, depression, underneath all your weird addictions and seductions and obsessions, underneath all of that lies our original nature, which doesn't need healing. It does not need healing. Underneath us, we have this innate, beautiful, wild freedom, like an animal, like a jaguar, like a tigress. We have that. And that part of us does not need New Year's resolutions or a diet or any course online. It is innate. What had happened was we just start building up all these little patterns over time, and it just gets layered up like a painting, right? You put on one paint coat and then the next, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. And what yoga in its best sense is just chipping that paint off the wall. And we want to do it in a way that's more like sandpaper than a blowtorch. We want to chip away at this buildup of our, I don't want to say it's our false self or something negative, because, guys, here's the thing we have to realize about Vikruti. You have adapted the patterns in your diet. You've adapted the patterns in your relationships. You've adapted the patterns in your nervous system, in your lifestyle, in the choices that you make. We've all developed those patterns because at one point in time they served us. And we can refer to those as behavioral patterns. And usually behavioral patterns come from even deeper patterns called survival patterns. And they're real. When you were little, you relied on someone else for your survival. And that's something all of us share. Nobody came out of mama, hitting the ground like a boss bitch, running her own show and making decisions and cognitizing. None of us did that. We were completely vulnerable. We were completely reliant upon our caregivers. And so we developed the patterns that we developed because at the time, they really were what was needed for survival. But now we find ourselves in a situation where those patterns may not make sense for the reality that's occurring now. And so the practice of Ayurveda is learning, okay, like, what is my unique individual constitution? What is my unique blueprint? What does it look like? And we honestly, guys, like, that's why I'm not a big fan of these like online quizzes of like, find out what your dosha is, because our blueprints oftentimes are really covered up by a lot of other layers, physiological layers. So physical toxicity, physical buildup, emotional buildup, a lot of buildup of old stored memory, impressions, and all that buildup, especially in our day and age where we're under a barrage of information that has to be processed. That buildup, it's just like the metaphor of the paint on the wall. We can't see what's on the base. We can't. And so to predict what's on the base when we haven't dealt with all those little micro levels on the surface area is, in my opinion, futile. Let's begin slowly. Let's begin slowly. What is my relationship to food? What feelings come up when I sit down and eat without distraction? And that's going to reveal to me emotional content, psychological content that I didn't even know was there. What happens when I don't maybe reach for that soothing glass of wine at the end of the night, but I actually just sit with myself? What happens when I don't turn on my computer at 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night to get that second wave of work done? What happens when I don't do that? What happens when I don't constantly reach out to other people via text message or going to social events? Of course, all those things, food, wine, social events, they're all the sap and fire and passion of life. And we want to have those beautiful things. But I'm just giving a couple of examples of like, what happens when I actually don't go to my soothing or numbing mechanisms? What happens? What's there? And what's there is going to be this internal world that I've done a really good job at avoiding, repressing, or simply being unaware of for a really long time. I know I'm not the only one out there. In fact, it's all of us. We all have our soothing mechanisms, our coping strategies. And they can be fine for a while, but there comes a moment when they just don't work anymore. And I think a lot of you listening to this podcast are here because you're seekers, you're hungry, you're searching. One of my favorite definitions of the word yoga is being able to building your capacity to be able to withstand deeper and deeper levels of beauty, deeper and deeper levels of beauty. And what that means is being able to be with real life as it is occurring in this moment. And when I do that, this natural life force, this prana, has room to move in my body. And my perceptions change. And I stop grasping as much. And I stop running away as much. And I start being a lot more here on this earth with myself. This is the practice of working with our Vikruti. Vikruti is all about identifying the dysbiosis, the imbalance, the disharmony. What is here that's getting in the way of me being able to enjoy this moment right now? What in me is getting in the way of me being fully in an authentic experience of love? And that doesn't mean you feel good. That doesn't mean there's not pain. That means that I'm willing to be here right now. One of the definitions of love that I use in Ayurveda school is love is listening. Love is listening. But it's bigger than that. Love is perceiving. Love is listening. Love is seeing. Love is tasting. Love is feeling the touch of the air on my skin. Love is the ability to use the 5 external senses and the 19 different inner proprioceptive senses of the body, the inner world of seeing, feeling, hearing, tasting, sensing, and the outer world. We're able to do that. Love is sensing. Love is sensing what is here right now. And when we do that, lo and behold, the Vikruti, our imbalances, guess what, guys? Start to show up. So what I'm suggesting is that we use Ayurveda, Tantra, we use modern science, we use this research emerging in the field of attachment theory and regulation of the nervous system, that we use it as a doorway into looking at Ayurveda. Without this modern approach, it can be really easy to use as Ayurveda and yoga as one more way that you feel naughty about yourself, that you feel bad about yourself, that you categorize yourself, that you put yourself in a box. And I, for one, am no longer interested in putting myself in one more box. I really want to be free of the boxes. And so at the end of the day, your Ayurvedic constitution has nothing to do with the words Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Your Ayurvedic constitution has everything to do with that wild self that you are, that you know, that is like the river, that is like the flame, that is like the wind when it blows, that does have spaciousness, that is electric fire and light, that is like the 5 elements of the earth. And if it helps you to add in those Vata, Pitta, Kapha words, that's fine. But I connect a little bit more to the wild elemental nature. And I have a certain amount of fire, and all y'all know it. I came into this life with a lot of fire, and I'll leave, I'm sure, with some fire as well. There are people on this planet that are very, very airful, and people that are more spacious, people that are more like the rocks and the mountains, and people that are more water women. And truthfully, I know that I'm a unique combination of all 5, and I know that you are too. If you have a body, you have earth. If you have breath, you have air. Every single one of us has every single one of these elements. And so what I'm encouraging you to do is pay attention less to your intellect looking to understand your dosha or your body mind type. Get rid of that. Know that when you go into the Vikruti, the imbalances, and begin to harmonize those, the natural prakriti, your nature, your blueprint, your natural innate health will start to reveal itself to you. And when that happens, your superpowers will come to the surface. The way that you know that you are coming into original blueprint or original true self or prakriti, the way that you know that you're coming into it is that you feel more authentic. You have more life force energy. You have more desire for creativity. You have a pulsing desire to do on this planet what you feel that you were meant to do. And this sense that you're living your authentic self more and more and more. So I hope you like this definition of prakriti and vikruti. I know it's been a little bit of a more theoretical, but I want to keep it that way for today because it would be really easy to sit here and tell you guys, well, here's what you can do to come back into balance. Just take Triphala, which I'm a big fan of, but, just take some Triphala and take some ashwagandha and oil your body. And you guys know I have written a whole book on this called Healthy, Happy, Sexy. Everybody has it. If you don't, go get my book. It's great. And I love that I just said, go get my book. It's great. Everybody thinks their own baby is beautiful. But even more importantly is this more subtle realm of what happens when I simply observe present moment. What happens inside my body when I don't try to meditate, when I don't try to do yoga, when I don't try to heal myself, when I don't try to fix myself. Like, what just happens when I look around the room and notice what's in the room? What's actually here and what's actually happening? What happens inside of me? And can I approach the things that happen inside of me with compassion and presence? And can I recognize there are things inside of me that feel good and less good and pendulate, being with both of them a little bit? Can I sit with myself? Can I be with what's happening inside myself? And then can I be with what's happening outside of myself? As I begin to do that more subtle work, which one could say is a form of very tantric meditation, as I begin to do that, who I am begins to reveal itself to me. And it will be less a practice of you figuring it out with the intellect and more a discovery and a revelation that comes from present moment attention. The mind is vast, and the part of our mind that we use to figure things out can't do this. It's an experience, and that's why it's hard for me to even talk about. So I hope that you're inspired. If you want to do actual 15-minute practices with me this month in the Lineage of Love, the whole month of March, we are doing incredibly subtle work in your pelvic bowl, which can be an interesting place to go spelunking with your consciousness, to explore the experiences and memories and emotions and physical events that can be hidden there beyond our awareness. So get in the Lineage of Love. It's $18 a month, and we've changed up the Lineage of Love. It's an even more beautiful platform now. And when you get in for $18, you get all of our content all the time. So you basically get my entire compendium of practices when you get in there. So tons of recorded audio meditations, tons of recorded video practices, movement practices that are feminine form style for women or men, but we're moving with more curves and more natural movements, less arrows and warrior lines, and more birthing, dancing, creatrix expression. So get in the Lineage of Love. And in the Lineage of Love, we do these practices, and I would love for you to have them in your life. Guys, we have a word from our amazing sponsor, Apothecary. You've heard me talk about these gorgeous Ayurveda loving lady gals out of DC. They have a website, apothecary.co. We've got that link in our show notes. Their stuff I've been using for the past month, OMG, their Triphala is like the best Triphala I've ever taken. Triphala is this awesome combination of 3 fruits, Amalaki, Harataki, and Bibitaki. Say that a few times fast. Triphala is so good for helping getting things moving in the morning, if you know what I mean. Evacuation, in case you don't know what I mean. Elimination. Yeah, Triphala. They've got a really, really good brand, which I'll put the link in the show notes to that. They also have a beautiful, soft, white, fluffy shatavari. I like my shatavari fluffy and soft. Shatavari is one of my favorite herbs. So like I use Triphala almost every day, and I use shatavari every single day. It's my go-to herb that helps balance hormones. It is a nervine tonic, and that means it's not going to sedate you. It's going to give you energy, but it's also going to make you feel mellow yellow and calm. Shatavari is used in ancient India traditionally to help support women's fertility, vitality, endocrine balance. So I'm a big fan of Shatavari, and they have a really good one. Great products over at Apothecary, and they're hilarious. Their marketing is so funny. I just got an email from them that said, "I'm falling in love," which is such a dorky Ayurveda joke. So check out Apothecary, you guys. We love them. And I use their products. I personally use their products every day. So check them out. And so much juicy stuff coming up in March. We have good content coming up in the podcast, you guys. I am going to start hosting interviews with my favorite interesting people from all realms, body movement mavens, iconoclasts, authors, Christian girls gone wild. I am so excited about our upcoming spring and summer. We'll be packed full of brilliant thinkers, movers, shakers, and non-movers. So make sure to subscribe to our podcast and stay tuned. Give us a great review. It helps other people find us. And when you subscribe, it helps people find us. And if you love our podcast, it's just an easy link share. So share it with your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your cousin, your uncle. Your uncle needs this podcast, y'all. All right, beauties, have a great day. And guess what? When we talk again, it's going to be March. We're almost in spring.
फूटे फूल